हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी। हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी। हरे कृष्णा।
Can somebody
हरे कृष्णा
say,
प्रभु जी।
can hear my voice?
Prabhuji, your voice is
Can hear my text message.
I can't hear you.
Prabhuji, your voice is breaking, Prabhuji.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी। दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी।
Can whoever is speaking, can you explain, because I'm driving? So,
Bro, should we connect after some time?
It helps. I think it will. How about now? Is it clearly audible?
Yes, Prabhuji, now it is very clear.
Okay, so maybe we will do. Okay. Okay. Once again, can somebody say if my voice is clear?
Yes, bro, it is clear.
Yes, Prabhuji,
Yes,
it is
Prabhuji.
clear.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry for the
clear, Prabhuji.
inconvenience. Yeah, okay, thank you. Om Agyantimirandasya Jnanashalakaya Chanshuranitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sadrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Radha Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishnu He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavadeshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Vipasindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gauravantavirta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Mukha Karoti Vachalam Papunam Gayate Giri Yatripādamaham Bhante Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shubhavadi Paschatya Deshata. So today we are reviewing Bhakti Shastri Bhagavad Gita chapter 6. This chapter is not so difficult like the previous ones. There are 6 sections. First is advancing in yoga. This chapter is very important chapter from exam point of view. I think there are like 3 or 4 questions just from this chapter which we will do next week. Then there is yoga Ruda stage. With what stage is that? It will come in our details. Then there is further stages in the practice of yoga. necessity of controlling the turbulent mind, the destination of an unsuccessful yogi, and the topmost yogi. The later sections are more easier. Okay. Arjuna, how this chapter begins with, this chapter does not begin with the Arjuna asking a question like most of the previous chapter. Supreme Personality of Godhead directly speaks because Krishna knows the mind of Arjuna, and Arjuna still has some desire that he doesn't want to fight and he wants to renounce. So Krishna first starts this chapter by giving a definition of renunciation to clarify Arjuna. So the first verse says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. So Krishna is giving a true definition of renunciation. Renunciation, Krishna says, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life. So specifically for Arjuna, if Arjuna is obligated to fight as a Kshatriya, if he fights as a Kshatriya, but he is not attached to the result of fighting, then he is renounced order. And when Krishna says, not he who lights no fire and perform no duty, clearly means Arjuna going to the forest, avoiding fighting, and living a life of ascetic and light no fire and renounce all the duty. He is not a sannyasi. He is not in renounced order. But one who does his work as obligated, without attachment to results, he is a true sannyasi. All right. Now, that's the beginning of the chapter. So Krishna says, who is not a sannyasi? I mean, in Vedic tradition, sannyasis are not allowed to cook when they go to the forest. They eat whatever the forest provides. And that's why Krishna is clarifying, one who goes to the forest is not actually a sannyasi, but who is not attached and work as obligated. So one who lights no fire and performs no duty is not a true definition of sannyas. Then what is true sannyasi? Prabhupada mentions here. He says, he uses one life, family, home, possession, and Krishna service. One who is not attached to anything, and one who uses all of one's possession in serving Krishna. He is a true sannyasi. So, I mean, yesterday we were discussing also in our Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Thakur's song, Manasa Deho Deho Jogi Chupo Arpi Vapade Nanda Kishore Manasa Deho Deho Jogi Chupo. Whatever is mine, my home, my mind, my body, my family, everything. So that person is truly renounced, Krishna says. Then does not try to gratify one's senses or extended senses, means he does not try to enjoy the result of one's work, or does not try to enjoy by giving pleasure, like Prabhupada introduces the concept of extended sense gratification. His enjoyment does not come by giving pleasure to those connected with him or her. That becomes extended sense gratification. And he performs the work as obligated. He is a true sannyasi. So again and again, Arjuna is like, I want to renounce, I want to renounce, I want to renounce. Now here Krishna introduces what is renunciation. And then Krishna says, you should know the yoga is same as renunciation, because the purpose of, we just saw the purpose of sannyas or renunciation is to link everything to Krishna, and linking to Krishna is what yoga means. So Krishna says a yogi is renounced and a renounced person is yogi. So now this brings us to the starting of this chapter of Ashtanga Yoga. And then Krishna at the end of the chapter also describes who is a yogi, which ultimately ends with Bhakti Yoga being the highest, and that takes us to the next 6th chapter, which is on Bhakti Yoga. Okay, so now two stages of yoga practice. One is called yoga ruruksha stage. One is called yoga rudha stage. There may be a possibility in our assignment or exams, these words can be used, describe this or this about this. So devotees can understand these two technical terms. Yoga ruruksha stage is a beginning stage. Yoga rudha stage is an advanced stage. We will discuss in this slide. Yoga ruruksha stage, those who are in this stage, especially with respect to Krishna consciousness, they should work as they're obligated. They should practice detachment simultaneously, like work. Attachment will be there to the results. Try to practice not to be attached to the results. Keep working. Try your best not to be attached to the results. And restrain from non-prescribed sense gratification. So working, some benefits will come from our work, whether it is devotional work or whether it is worldly work. Some benefits will come. Don't be attached to the results. And simultaneously strictly practice the regulative principles. Strictly try to avoid non-prescribed sense gratification. Prescribed sense gratification of prasadam we can eat. Non-prescribed is gross or subtle form of regulative principles. Avoid them. Don't be attached to the result of your activities and work as obligated. This is the prescription for the beginning stage of yoga, which is also for beginning stages of bhakti and beginning stages of Ashtanga yoga. Then for Ashtangi, it is, as you see, there are 8 steps. It will be nice for us to understand these 8 steps. There is yama, there is niyama, there is asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Now, I will take 1 minute pause, please. Is my sound still clear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you very much. Just making sure. All right. So here we are seeing there are 8 stages to Ashtanga Yoga. Yama is things to avoid. Like same yama and niyama. I'm trying to connect Bhakti Yoga to Ashtanga Yoga. Very important discussion. Yama is things to avoid. For us, yama is the 4 regulatory principles. For Ashtanga Yogi, there is no stealing, celibacy, no lying. So they have their own yamas. And then niyama is things to be followed. In Ashtanga Yoga, they have their own. In our tradition, niyama is 16, chanting 16 rounds. Now, specifically for Ashtanga Yoga, there is asanas. Asanas are bodily postures. They are meant to control the body. Then there is pranayam. Pranayam is breathing exercise. Breathing is said as the king of the mind. So pranayam is meant to control the mind. Asana, pranayam together control the senses and the mind. Then once both are controlled, pratyahara is to withdraw the senses from the sense object. For Bhakti Yogi, we may be like, if we do 1-on-1 parallel, then Bhakti Yogi may be like trying to withdraw the senses from sense object, and that's for Ashtanga Yogi Pratyahara. Then dharana means if the mind is very much focused on sense gratification, it's difficult to focus on Krishna. So they try to tolerate the urges and they focus. Dharana. Dharana means you hold the super soul in your heart for Ashtanga Yogi, and you withdraw the senses from object by practice of asana pranayam, and you hold the Lord in your mind. That's dharana. And once that stage is perfected, once dharana is perfected, then you can remember the Lord for almost all the time. And that is stage of dhyan. And when dhyan becomes very deep, then that becomes samadhi. So dhyan and samadhi is yoga ruda stage, advanced stage of yoga. And up till dharana, it is yoga ruruksha stage. So yoga ruda stage, advanced stage, retires from active duties for contemplation and meditation. This holds true for both bhakti yogis and ashtanga yogis. So for bhakti yogis, they are at a stage of ruchi, or they are always remembering Krishna. They have strong attachment love for Krishna. For dhyan yogi, it is dhyan. When one reaches the stage of dhyan, they don't have to practice asana, pranayam, and other lower stages. So they retire. For them, the active duty is asana, pranayam. So retire from active duty for contemplation, meditation, and they move to dhyan and samadhi. So are we clear with yoga ruruksha stage and yoga rura stage? Any discussion on this?
Prabhuji, like you mentioned, both Yoga Ruksha and Yoga Ruda applies to a Dhyan Yogi and a Bhakti Yogi.
Yes.
However, for a Bhakti Yogi, they should be at least have Ruchi when they are in Yoga Ruda.
Yes, like yoga ruda I'm trying to connect to our Krishna consciousness, because we will see 6th chapter goes in parallel with our bhakti yoga also. And we have a slide which says Ashtanga yoga and Krishna consciousness, how they relate, comparison between these two. And that may be important for all of us to understand also. It is, in bhakti yoga also, Prabhuji, it is said in our beginning stages, hearing is the chief means for advancement. In our advanced stages, smaranam, meditation, is the chief means for advancement. So principle is the same. Does it make sense, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Any other question? Are we clear on these two stages, yoga ruruksha and yoga ruda stage?
Prabhuji, I have one question. In Pratyahara state, can you hear me, Prabhuji?
I can hear you.
Okay. In Pratyahara stage, we regulate our senses to withdraw from the sense object, and then regulate those senses in Ashtanga Yoga. In the sense, I'm asking, and concentrate your senses into the Brahman realization, Prabhuji, in that.
Well, it depends upon what is our definition of samadhi. So
So in Ashtanga Yoga, like they concentrate on Brahman, Prabhuji. That's what my question is.
Yeah, okay, thank you. As per Krishna's recommendation, Ashtanga Yogi should meditate on Vishnu within the heart. So
You mean Paramatma realization?
But nowadays, especially in America, people teach Ashtanga Yoga from an impersonal perspective. But that's kind of a deviation.
But as per the Shastric evidence, you're saying Ashtanga Yoga leads to the Paramatma realization.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. So we go ahead. We discuss about 2 levels of yoga practice. Now, Krishna explains the advanced stage of yoga, which is yoga ruda stage. Before that, Krishna first explains that for us to reach to an advanced stage of yoga, mind has to be controlled. So Krishna says, well, the mind can be the enemy or the friend. Symptoms of a friendly mind is follows dictation of super soul. When mind is our friend, then whatever Lord says in the heart, we will do. Detached from sense gratification, that those desires are also not there for when the mind is controlled. And result is the mind helps us to elevate. Then symptoms of uncontrolled mind follows dictation of lust, anger, illusion. These thoughts are very much there. And if the mind is uncontrolled, then when these thoughts kind of become increasingly have a strong influence on us, then we may give into those thoughts. Then our mind becomes uncontrolled. Of course, we may not be in controlled mind stage, which is mind as a friend. Our mind may still be enemy. But then Prabhupada says, using superior intelligence, we try to control the mind. So we know what is right, what is wrong, and we try to force the mind. So we are moving in that path. And Krishna says practice. We will see at the end of the chapter. Practice is important. Practice and renunciation both will help to control the mind. So uncontrolled mind follows dictation of lust, anger, illusion, etc. Attached to sense gratification. Any slight inclination, any slight observance as gratification, mind becomes very joyful, and mind immediately wants to enjoy. Uncontrolled mind. Then result is it degrades and entangles us. But Krishna also says at the stage of practice, he says, second chapter, Vishaya Vinivartante Niraharasya Dehina Raso Varjan Raso Apriyasya Param Drishtva Nivartate. Although the taste for sense object remains, by focusing on the higher taste, one should be able to say no. That is the stage of practice that Krishna describes at the end of the 6th chapter. When you say practice, this is what it means. But at a fully realized stage, even those desires will not be there. Like for pure devotees like Prabhupada, like our spiritual masters, completely undisturbed and fully focused on the Lord. Okay. So after mind has become our, okay, and Prabhupada says best way to disentangle mind, always engage mind in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada would say keeping yourself busy. While you are working, keep yourself busy at the work. If you have free time at work, hear some lecture, hear some kirtan, do some Krishna conscious activity, or maybe regular duty like cooking or taking care of or spending time with the family and children, whatever is needed. After work is done, again keep yourself busy. Keep yourself engaged in Krishna center. Okay, now these are the symptoms of Yoga Ruda stage. If the mind is made a friend, as per the previous text, following symptoms will develop. So we saw what first we begin with Krishna explains what is not renunciation. What is renunciation? Renunciation is same as yoga. Now Krishna begins the process of yoga. And then he says yoga is of 2 stages. There is yoga ruruksha stage, yoga ruda stage. Then he says in yoga ruruksha stage, beginning stage of yoga, work is said to be the means. Where work for us is constant engagement in service, because we cannot trust our mind, because mind will distract us to sense gratification. So for us in Bhakti Yoga, work is said to be the means in the beginning. In an advanced stage, cessation of work is said to be the means, or cessation of work means there is no physical activity, the mind is absorbed. Man mana bhagna bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. One is constantly focused on serving Krishna. So Krishna explains these 2 stages, and then he comes first, he says the mind decides whether we are in ruruksha stage or yoga ruda stage. Then once the mind is our friend, then we are at the stage of yoga yoga rudra stage, which is the advanced stage of yoga. And these are the symptoms of advanced yoga. And there are 4 symptoms. It will be nice to remember all of them. One is completely neutral to all material existence. One who is that much advanced. Dhyan and samadhi, or for us asakti, bhava and prema, on those stages, they are completely neutral to material existence. Like we see Maharaj Chitraketu, he was cursed to become a demon undisturbed. Vritrasura in a demoniac body, undisturbed. So neutral to material existence and dualities. They may be amidst so many difficult situations, maybe completely opposing situation to devotional service. They're undisturbed because they're established in their relationship with Krishna in whichever or wherever they are. Prabhupada says, after this life, I'm going to hell to preach. So wherever they are, independent of material existence, and Lord Shiva tells Parvati that hell or heaven doesn't matter to them, because this is the glories of the devotees of the Lord, because they're completely absorbed in the lotus feet of Krishna. Then they see all objects equally, pebbles, gold and stone. They are fully satisfied by Gyan and Vigyan, which is their knowledge and their realization of Krishna, fully satisfied, and sees all people equally. This is again, Prabhupada says in our Bhakti Yoga also, he says, Uttama Adhikari, they see Krishna everywhere. They see everybody is a pure devotee of Krishna. And Madhyamadhikari, they come to a Madhyamadhikari, they preach. They should distinguish. And yeah. Okay. So mind must admit some superior dictation and follow it. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, Paramatma, somewhere mind should take guidance and follow those guidance. Then the mind can be controlled. Okay. Are we good with symptoms of Yoga Rudha stage? Verse number 7, 8, 9 describes the symptoms, 4 symptoms. Okay, so we go further, the third section, further stages in the practice of yoga. This section is divided into 2 subsections. First, the basic practice of meditation, and then the perfection meditation. Both are defined. Now, this is an important slide to consider, how to relate Ashtanga Yoga with Krishna consciousness. So I will read, most of the devotees will be able to directly relate. Ashtanga Yogi constantly engage body, mind and self in relationship with the Supreme. Krishna consciousness also both engage body, mind and self in relationship with the Supreme. Relationship with Supreme, indirect or partial relationship, because Paramatma realization. Bhakti Yogis, direct relationship with Swayam Bhagavan. Place of practice, Ashtanga Yogi live alone, secluded, to avoid disturbance by external objects, whereas devotees stay in good association, avoid unwanted association. All right. Then mind control, heart struggle to fix on super soul, whereas devotees from the beginning they are constantly engaged, because Prabhupada says when you are serving Krishna or washing pot of Krishna, even though our consciousness may not be so pure, still our activity is completely pure because we are directly serving Krishna. So for Ashtanga Yogi it's very difficult. For Krishna conscious it's natural, because it is also said engaging the body is easier than engaging the mind. So Bhakti Yogi, like how Prabhupada in the beginning only he would tell his devotees who are just few weeks old in Krishna consciousness, go out and distribute books, attend the whole morning program, then morning Shrimad Bhagavatam, evening Bhagavad Gita, day distribute books, cooking, deity worship. So in that way Prabhupada gave constant engagement. Then free from desire and possessiveness. This is a prerequisite to practice Yoga Rudha stage or advanced stage. In Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness, direct Krishna consciousness means self-abnegation right in the beginning stages. Means we strictly follow right from the very beginning. We strictly follow the principles of Bhakti Yoga, or we don't break regulative principles like that. Self-abnegation means this is not conducive, so I will not do it. Like day one, we are asked to live a pure life. Don't eat these things also. In that way, self-abnegation. Manner of sitting, not too high or too low, deer skin at the bottom, kusha grass, straight posture, vision on tip of the nose. There are no specification of Bhakti Yogi. Krishna specifically says the eye should be focused on the tip of the nose, and in the heart one should see the form of the Lord for Ashtanga Yogi. Celibacy, it's a must. It is said Ashtanga Yogi and Jnana Yogi, it's only for those who are celibate. Krishna consciousness is for everyone, but celibacy must be regulated based on nectar of instruction for procreation of children. Regulation, eating to keep body and soul together. In Bhakti Yoga, eat Krishna Prasad. Regulation, sleeping more than 6 hours. Prabhupada says if you sleep more than 6 hours, then you will dream and you will become lazy, Prabhupada said. So also Gaurang Prabhu says 7 hours is okay because of pollution, whatever factor. But oversleeping is not good. Oversleeping means, like Saraswati Thakur says, if you naturally wake up, don't try to sleep again. Sometimes we naturally wake up and we just have a fear that no, I have not rested well, which is more on a mental level. And then we try to sleep, and that time gets wasted. And that will increase laziness also. Ideally, one should be regulated. Krishna says regulated in eating, regulated in sleeping, and regulated in recreation. For devotees, recreation is whatever they like to do in Krishna consciousness. It can be listening kirtan, it can be playing harmonium, it can be being with devotees and taking prasad. Whatever recreation for, like Prabhupada Maharaj says, for Prabhupada, recreation was sitting alone and singing Vaishnava bhajans on harmonium. That was recreation for Prabhupada. In the purport, Prabhupada says with respect to sleeping, Prabhupada says avyartha kalatva means a devotee does not waste time. So he knows that if it is not needed, and if we are busy, and if we have more things to do than what we can contain, then as soon as our sleep is over, we are very much active. Okay, this is what we have to do. So devotees, like best practice for bhakti yogis, they should have enough engagement in their Krishna consciousness. If there is not necessarily with respect to service in temple only, maybe if there is more time, then we can increase our reading, we can increase our chanting. So right from the beginning, the devotee should try to practice of not wasting their time. Okay, so are we clear with the comparison between the Ashtanga Yoga and Krishna consciousness? Any discussion here?
Yes, Prabhuji is clear.
Thank you, Yashoda Devi. Okay, then the qualities of a yogi working in transcendence. Then Krishna says, so there are two sections. One's like this is the beginning stages, like one should go sit in this place, should see on the tip of the nose, should try to meditate on me, should not eat too much, not sleep too much, should not do too much recreation, should be celibate. So these are the symptoms of Ashtanga Yogi in the beginning stages. And then the next slide is when a person has attained Yoga Rudha stage or advanced stage of yoga, then these qualities he will manifest. And that is fully focused on super soul. So from there, one advances and one reaches there. So that's a verse number 10 to 32 describe the process. The first one is up to dharana stage. Yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, and dharana. And now we are at the stage of dhyana and samadhi. So it's an important question, qualities of yogi working in transcendence. So Krishna gives example of lamp in a windless place does not move. Likewise, the yogi is that much focused on super soul that he never deviates from there. And Prabhupada says with respect to devotees, samadhi is, he gives an example of Mother Yashoda constantly thinking of how to serve Krishna. And Prabhupada says that is practical samadhi. Or Prabhupada says, like pure devotees, they are always thinking about how to preach Krishna consciousness movement all over the world, like different spiritual master, what to do to serve Prabhupada. And that is samadhi for bhakti yogis. Then material desire doesn't cross their mind. Then they derive boundless happiness. He thinks there is no greater gain. There is the Sanskrit word which says yam labdhava chapare labham mannate nadikam tataha. Chapare labha means one who gains this, which is either direct meditation on super soul, which is also great realization, or for bhakti yogi fully attached to Krishna. Yam labdhava chapare labha mannate nadikam tataha. Nadikam means he thinks manyate na adhikam. There is nothing beyond tataha, beyond what he has attained. Having attained this stage, he thinks There is nothing else I want in the in the existence. Okay, then freedom from all miseries. Miseries, Krishna says, arises from attachments. Ehi samspasha chabhoga dukha yunana evate. And when one is not attached, miseries will not be there. Then never shaken amidst greatest difficulty. We saw how Maharaj Ambarish, this from purport, when he was facing his death, which is actually the greatest difficulty, and he was not shaken. How Prahlad Maharaj, what kind of difficult situations he was put into by his own father, but he was not shaken in his remembrance of the Lord. So these are the qualities of a yogi, or qualities of a yogi in Yoga Rudha stage who is working in transcendence. He will exhibit them. Then sees equality of all beings. Try to help everyone. Like example is no enemy friend. Example is when Prahlad Maharaj was taken, son and Hiranyakashipu said, how have the enemies entered in our camp? Find it out, otherwise you both will be severely punished. Sandana Marka took Prahlad Maharaj in the school, and then he asked them, how have the enemies influenced you? So Prahlad Maharaj says, only out of ignorance or only out of false ego, one thinks somebody's friend and somebody's enemy. So that shows his stage. And we see that although Hiranyakashipu was trying to really put lot of difficult circumstances to Prahlad Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu did not become the enemy of Prahlad. Whereas we see slight, like recently we celebrated Ramayan, slight deviation of Vibhishan from the desires of Ravana, and he became the enemy. I mean, Ravana immediately wanted to kill Vibhishan now. So it's like, as soon as Prahlad did something which Hiranyakashipu didn't want, Prahlad Hiranyakashipu want to kill Prahlad. So enemy and friend is like, because of the false ego, immediately exhibited. But we see Prahlad Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, no matter how they were treated, for them they are all equal. So these are the natural characteristics of a yogi working in transcendence. Okay, so in this section, verse number 10 to 32, first Krishna describes the beginning stages, not eating too much, sleeping, then meditating in this way, and then advanced stages, mind is fixed like windless place lamp, material desire does not cross, unlimited happiness, he thinks there is no greater gain, no misery because of no attachment, not shaken up amidst difficulty, and does not see anybody as friend and enemy. Okay, so then after saying these symptoms, then the last section, Krishna describes what is the method to attain Yoga Rudha or advanced stages. So first Krishna says patience is needed. We will see they all correlate with Bhakti Yoga also. Then determination. Prabhupada gives the example of Sparrow and Garuda. I'm sure devotees know the story. Ocean took the eggs of Sparrow. Sparrow said, give me the eggs. Ocean did not care. Sparrow was determined to dry up the ocean, taking water in its beak from one place to another. Constantly striving, Garuda noticed. Garuda came to help the sparrow. Garuda said, give the eggs, otherwise I will dry you up. Ocean became fearful, came up and gave the eggs. So Sparrow, because of his determination, although completely insignificant with respect to the ocean, because of the determination, he was held by the higher power of Lord Krishna, which is represented by Garuda here. So Prabhupada gave that example. For a yogi also have to be patient. For Bhakti yogi also has to be patient. Difficulties will come, mind will go here and there, patiently practice with determination, without deviation. Means it's very easy to get deviated, very difficult to follow the right path day after day, month after month, year after year. Then faith, be confident and pursue the path with great perseverance. Means none of the path is easy. Ashtanga yoga is also not easy. Bhakti yoga is also not easy. Control senses by mind. Intelligence sustained by full conviction. Means intelligence intelligence convinced for us, intelligence convinced through scriptures, through the words of Guru, through the devotee association. Then mind fixed in oneself, not thinking anything else. For us, mind fixed on Krishna. Step by step, one achieves success. And Krishna says, from wherever and whenever the mind goes here and there, bring it back. Bring it back. So this is the method to attain Yoga Ruda stage. So this is the whole, this in this verse number 10 to 32, the entire process of Ashtanga Yoga is described, and all of them equally applied to Bhakti Yoga also. Begins with, first you have to go, you have to be celibate, you have to live in a secluded place, not too high, not too low, on a deer skin, put the eyes on the tip of the nose, focus the mind on my form, don't eat too much, sleep too much, or too much recreation. And then there is like, if you do this, then advanced stage, your mind will be fixed like on a lamp place. Once attained, you will feel there is nothing higher than this. Boundless happiness. You will not discriminate amidst greatest difficult situations. You will be undisturbed. Example, Prabhupada gave Maharaj Ambarish, Prahlad Maharaj. Then qualities of a yogi in transcendence. And then Krishna says, but you won't attain that very easily. This is something you have to practice also. From beginning stage, practice these, get to the advanced stage. They are all applicable to Bhakti Yoga also. Okay, any question? This is the end of the third section. Does it make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. Now the fourth stage is Krishna says, Arjuna says, oh Krishna, this is too difficult. He says this yoga is impractical and unendurable because the mind is restless. The mind is unsteady, mind is turbulent, strong and obstinate. Obstinate means jiddi, means when it wants something, it wants that. Strong means even if you tell the mind no, the mind will create havoc for us. Turbulent means like easily becomes very much disturbed, angry, and creates like oceanic waves within us, and like very much disturbed. Unsteady means you try to focus it and immediately go somewhere else. Restless cannot stay at one place. Similar. So Arjuna says, seeing this Krishna, whatever you have described, because Krishna explained the advanced stage, mind in a windless place, Arjuna said, this is impossible. My lamp in a windless place, that much focus on the Lord, 24 hours. Arjuna says, I can't do this. So solution, Krishna says, Abhyasina tu kontaya vairagana chagriyate. Krishna agrees that mind control is very difficult, yes, but suggests the possibility of control by suitable practice and detachment. So this is very important, how to control the mind. And devotee should be able to explain what practice means, what detachment means. So Prabhupada explains in the purport, practice means 9 forms of devotional service. Shavanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Then Prabhupada says foremost of the 9 is hearing. And Prabhupada says effect of hearing, the more one hears, the more one becomes detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. There are many things that will pull us, but if you hear about Krishna, if you keep hearing about Krishna, that's why Srila Prabhupada mandated daily Bhagavatam hearing. And that's why all the temples have Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya. There is evening Bhagavad Gita classes. Now, not many temples do that, but during Prabhupada time, mandatory. So hearing was mandatory that time. And then whenever Prabhupada books were released, reading those books, hearing. So Prabhupada says, keep hearing. And Prabhupada also says, if somebody is not reading my books 2 hours every day, they can easily become victimized by Maya, Prabhupada says. And those who are distributing Prabhupada books, Prabhupada would say, have you read them? You are distributing, but have you read them? And then he would pause and he would say, I have not written these books to be distributed. I have written these books for devotees. First you read. So Prabhupada is very much emphasizing how to control the mind, hear about Krishna. And we have seen also we need external help actually. When the mind is very much disturbed, Then we hear about either Guru Maharaj lecture or we hear from devotees, sadhus. Our mind becomes pacified. We feel like, oh, it gives a different perspective to think altogether. And the nature of the mind is it will always deviate. That's the nature of the mind. So hearing. That's why it is described in the beginning, hearing is the means. At an advanced stages, remembrance is the means. But what will be remembered if you're not hearing? Then how can we remember also? So this is the practice that one has to do to control the mind. Suitable practice, 9 form of devotional service. Practice in Sanskrit means sadhana also. And sadhana means sadhana bhakti, which is 9 forms. Foremost purpose is hearing, because then purpose is the more we hear, the mind become detached and become detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. Then detachment purpose is it implies detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in devotional service. And Prabhupada also says the more we become attached to Krishna, more we'll be detached from matter. Prabhupada also says detachment, absolute detachment is not possible. Absolute detachment means absolute attachment to Krishna. That's why Prabhupada says Mayavadis or impersonalists, very difficult for them to make progress because they want to detach the mind from everything, or like Buddhism, detach the mind from matter, and there is no higher engagement. That's why Krishna says very troublesome. But then we have a higher engagement, which is Krishna. So Arjuna, after this, there is Yoga Ruda, beginning stage, advanced stage, the method. Arjuna says not possible. Krishna says practice 9 form, foremost hearing. If you hear, you'll be attached to Krishna. Then another is detachment from matter, which is naturally happen by focusing on attachment to Krishna. So we are not so much focusing, we focus on regulatory principles, and rest of the time we are focusing on serving Krishna, hearing about Krishna, chanting Krishna's name. We are focusing on developing our attachment to Krishna. Detachment will be natural. Okay, then for one whose mind is unbridled, Krishna concludes this section by saying if mind is not controlled, self-realization is difficult work. But he who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. If you are trying to control the mind through hearing and getting attached to Krishna, which basically, so if you see, suitable practice becomes hearing and detachment becomes chanting, because detachment is attachment to Krishna. So hearing and chanting, abhyas and vairagya. And through this, if you are trying, success is assured. But if you're not working on the mind, then self-realization will be a difficult task. Okay, next section. Any question on this section? I think this is easy one. I'm sure devotees have heard enough on this. Then the destination of an unsuccessful yoga. This is the second last slide. This is an expansion on the idea neha bikrama nashosti pratyavana vidyate swalpam apiyasa dharma satrayatan mahato bhayat. No loss or diminution in this path. So Krishna expands on that verse from second chapter here. Arjuna asks the question, what is the fate of an unsuccessful yogi? Doesn't he perish like a raven cloud? Raven cloud means a small piece of cloud which is neither in the sky, like which is a part of a big cloud, but it has been separated from the big cloud and it is lost in the sky because sky is unlimited. So a small piece of cloud is like kind of lost. In other words, a yogi who was very much absorbed in material pleasure, he started becoming a devotee now, and he is saying no to all the material pleasure, and he is starving in his Krishna consciousness. He is not taking any pleasure here. He cannot enjoy material existence because everything is like attachment leads to misery. He has hurt so much, he cannot enjoy there, not satisfied here. He's like nowhere. So what is the destination of such a yogi? This is a question asked by Arjuna. Krishna says a transcendentalist does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. Krishna says don't, and this is the same thing. Neha Vikrama Nashosti. In this path there is no loss or diminution. Arjuna is saying वो बेचारा तो फंस गया, ना इधर का ना उधर का. So Krishna is saying no. He will neither face any difficulty, any destruction in this life or the next, in material world or the spiritual world. He'll be successful materially also, he'll be successful spiritually also. Because we know when Krishna says in the Bhakti Yoga chapter, Yoga Shema Vahami Aham, I carry what a devotee lacks and I preserve what he have. In the commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, includes materially and spiritually. Whatever a devotee lacks, Krishna also says he takes care of being the maintainer of a devotee. So whatever a devotee lacks materially or spiritually, Krishna provides. So he does not meet destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. Then Krishna explains, if unsuccessful after a short practice, he will enjoy heavenly pleasure and then will take birth in a family of brahmanas or rich people. But if he is practicing for a long time, then he will take birth in a devotee family and revise his consciousness from previous life by getting attracted to yogic principles. Finally, after many lives of practice, he attains perfection. So begins with Arjuna's question, what happened to him? Neither here nor there. Krishna says he is good here and there. And then Krishna says if he begins Krishna consciousness, but very shortly he leave it, he will go to heavenly planets, enjoy, come back, take birth in rich people or in a family of brahmanas. But if he's practicing for a long time, then he doesn't have to go to heavenly planets. He will directly take birth in devotee family, immediately begin his Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada says going to heavenly pleasure, heavenly planets is a disturbance because long time and develops a lot of attachment. But somebody who leaves after a short time, naturally he leaves because he has many material desires. But because he practices even a short time of Krishna consciousness, Krishna will fulfill those material desires by sending him to heavenly planets. Prabhupada also says because many people who were coming to Krishna consciousness during Srila Prabhupada time would fall down very easily because a lot of instability in the beginning in our movement. So Prabhupada also says many of my disciples will go to heavenly planets based on this verse. But Krishna also says birth in a devotee family is extremely rare. And then very interestingly, Krishna says after once he take birth, whether in a Brahmana family or rich family or a devotee family, independent of that, he will be attracted to the principles of Krishna consciousness. As soon as he comes in contact with devotees, he will begin his journey from where he left off from the previous life. And how much advanced we are is dependent upon how much attraction we have to hearing and chanting. And then he will continue making progress. After many lifetimes, he will attain perfection. Prabhupada says one life it is also possible based on your sincerity. Okay, are we good with this section? Can we go to last section?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I just had one small query.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes. So, Prabhuji, when we say that Krishna says a transcendentalist does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world, and you were explaining that it means whatever devotee lacks in Krishna, like Krishna provides materially and spiritually. So the
Yes.
material part, understandable. But what do we mean by whatever devotee lacks spiritually, Krishna provides?
Like, for example, it may be a particular quality. For example, some devotee may be introvert and they want to preach. Then Krishna will give some help who will help that devotee. Some devotees, like I'm saying from spiritual service point of view, there may be many things that a devotee lack. For example, a devotee may not be managerially very good. Then Krishna will provide him some other devotee who will assist, who will be managerially very good, and the success will be there. Whatever qualities a devotee lack, Krishna will provide through other association who will assist him, or directly Krishna will manifest through their heart. Everything you want to do to serve Krishna will never be an obstruction. If you have a desire, and your desire is selfless, and it is to serve Krishna, Krishna will provide whatever it takes for you to make progress.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Great.
Any other question on this, on this section? Okay, we are going to the last slide. Then topmost yogi, a yogi is better than all others who endeavor perfection. Krishna says a yogi is higher than karma yogi, higher than jnana yogi, higher than bhakti yogi, higher than ashtanga yogi. Then Krishna says, therefore Arjuna become a yogi. And then Krishna says, who is a yogi? Krishna says, Shraddhavan bhajate amam. Samayukto Tamomataha. He says one who with great faith, one who takes shelter of me, one who thinks of me. Bhajate means take shelter of me, and one who always remember me and render loving service unto me. He is the best yogi. Krishna does not say he's a bhakti yogi. Krishna says a yogi is higher than karmi, higher than jnani, higher than ashtangi. And then he says, then Krishna defines who a yogi is. And he says a yogi is who's my devotee, who always worship me, always remember me, take shelter of me. And then he says, Tasmad, and then he says, he's the best among all the yogi. And Tasmad Yogi Bhav Arjuna means, therefore Arjuna become a yogi means Arjuna become a devotee. And this is a progression to the next 6 chapter, which is on Bhakti Yoga. So that's the last slide. Now, how are we doing with this 6th chapter?
Guruji, I have one question. So this
Yeah.
Ashtang Yogi can also fall down because of the false pride, because they can have they can achieve some mystic power with the yoga system, and then they can fall down because they can have a false pride on that.
Okay. So your question is, can they fall down?
Yeah, I'm just trying to say, like, what could be the reason for their fall down? Like, can this be the reason, like, because they can have a false pride of that they got a lot of mysticism? Because what else can be the reason for their fall down?
All the reasons Bhakti Yogi have, they have. It can be offenses, it can be attachment to matter, it can be bad association, material desires.
Do we have
Right.
gurus for Ashtanga Yogi as well, Prabhuji?
They have guru, yes. They learn, they take guidance. They have their guru. It's a bona fide yoga system. But Krishna says, like Prabhupada mentions in the book Perfection of Yoga, not recommended for this age. Bona fide system coming from scriptures. Arjuna, Prabhupada specifically mentions in the purport, the qualities of Arjuna: he is a great warrior, best warrior, completely self-controlled. In heavenly planets, when he met Urvashi, Urvashi was attracted to him. She went to his room and he says, no, I was seeing you as a mother because you are the wife of my grandfather, because she was, there was some relationship. So Arjuna's mind was very controlled and like best among whatever we can say. And he's telling this is impractical, and this is in the even Kali Yuga has not begun that time. So Prabhupada says that's clearly a sign that that is not for this age. When Arjuna cannot do it, he can control the wind, he cannot control the mind. What is our power? So not for this age.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Anything else? Okay, so Prabhuji's, Mataji's, thank you all very much for joining. Sorry for the inconvenience. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Dandavat.
Krishna. Thank you so much,
Hare
Prabhuji. Hare
Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranams. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna Mataji.
जी धन्यवाद।